Here we go. New year. Camera's a little high. We need to adjust that down. Audio, yeah, audio might be a little hot. Let's see. Let's take a second to bring the camera down. How far do we need to bring it down? Maybe an inch. If I'm looking straight at the camera right here. Yeah, I don't want to be looking up at it. Be right back. Just a minute adjustment. Thought I had all this stuff set, but you never know, you know? You know until you know. Let's see if that's enough. It's totally subjective, of course. At least on my end. Let's see. Let's see. Oh yeah, that's better. Now I need to adjust the tilt. Yeah, I like that good. I'm a little blown out. Maybe I can turn the light down just a tad. I don't know, it all depends on what you're looking at. But it does have a little bit of shine, doesn't it? See, it's funny because I'm looking at my computer monitor here, which is the vMix interface, and then I'm looking at a full screen output on my big screen TV. And there's more color in this monitor than there is in that. So there, hey, Ron. Hello, Jesper. Happy New Year to you guys. Glad to have you. Let's see. I'm going to go with this one. And I think that one's just the TV is just a little, well, you know, you do have adjustments in the TV. Let's see if there's an easy way to get into those adjustments. Nope. Don't want to do it. Don't want to go there. We'll go there another time. Jeep and Dave, Happy New Year. Good to see you. Welcome. Welcome. What will 2025 bring? Well, it'll bring 2026. It'll say goodbye to 2024. Yeah. You know, it's funny because the biggest challenge, personally, that I see for 2025, sorry about that, is dating things 2025. I think everything else is going to be smooth. We'll see. You never know. You never really know. That's my hope. So have you guys made some New Year's resolutions? Things that you want to commit to for an entire year? I don't know about that. I'll try to do my best, but I don't know that I'm going to be able to commit to something for an entire year. That's just not. Is that a reasonable expectation? I mean, I'll breathe, I'll sleep, I'll eat, I'll enjoy my family. We'll see. What will 2025 bring? I am curious to see what 2025 is going to bring the live streaming world, because it could be anything. It could be anything. And I'll share my thoughts in the show coming up in just a few minutes. I hope you guys had a wonderful holiday or series of holidays. Today, of course, being a holiday here in the U.S. I meant to tune in to the Australian New Year. Could have seen that yesterday, yesterday afternoon, or no, I guess yesterday morning. Australia is 15 hours ahead of me here, or at least the Gold Coast is. It would have been interesting to see their celebration. We have multiple streaming idiots down in that area, not the least of which is the vMix crowd. So we'll see on that one. But yeah, I guess if I had to make a New Year's resolution, it would be, and this is totally immeasurable. You know, I guess resolutions ought to be something you can measure, shouldn't they? But my New Year's resolution, my 2025 resolution will be that I want to be kinder. I don't want to be a patsy. I don't want to be a rollover, somebody that's easily rolled. Sometimes being kind means being firm. Sometimes being kind means keeping your mouth shut, which I find really hard to do in a lot of situations. Sometimes being kind means, well, I think all the time being kind means telling the truth. Telling the truth. And there are different ways to tell the truth. I tend to be a shoot straight from the hip and let the chips fall where they may kind of truth teller. And over the years, I've found that while that may be truthful, it's not always kind. And kindness can go a long way. And I'm working on kind of making my truth telling a little kinder. And that comes up a lot in troubleshooting, when I'm troubleshooting with somebody over the phone, either one of the PCs that we've built for them, or their vMix installation, or in some cases both. My temptation is to become a little impatient, especially for people that are novices and don't know what they don't know. And struggle with basic kinds of things like the Windows Start button. So I'm going to try to be kinder and more patient with those people. That's my New Year's resolution. I'm going to be kinder. I'm going to be more kinder, and more patient. I don't think patienter is a word, but I'll be more patient. Yeah, I think in English, if a word has one syllable, like kind, you can make it kinder. But if it has two syllables, like patient, it has to become more patient. I think there's some exceptions to that, but that's the general rule. More kind, patient, kinder, more patient. We'll see. And I hear this a lot on TV, which I think is really, really funny, because those people, they ought to know better. But it's the way people use the word unique. as if it had different classes, different quantities, different aspects. Something could be very unique or slightly unique or almost unique or fairly unique. But no, there's only one unique. It's either unique or it's not unique. And there are no degrees of uniqueness. You're either unique or whatever it is unique. That is only being one of, or it's not unique. So there's my vocabulary lesson for the day, such as it is. Not that I was ever an expert in that area, but I play one on YouTube. So, New Year's resolutions. Nobody has one. That's probably, that may be the wisest stake of all. Just don't have one. Don't set yourself up for failure. No unreasonable expectations on the part of your friends and family. Just, I'm going to be who I was before. I'm not going to be any different. I'm going to be a year older, a year wiser, and all the other things that come with that. But I'm not doing anything special because it's a new year. And there's some integrity to that. Hello, KMR. Welcome. How are things in your part of the world? It is, actually, it's a really beautiful day down here in South Alabama. It's probably 60 degrees, low humidity, beautiful sunny day. What is 60 in Celsius? One of these days I'm going to have to learn the conversion tables on that. 60 is probably what, like 15 or something? Yeah, we'll work on that. We'll work on that. So, let's see. Today we're going to talk about 2025. Actually, we'll probably be talking about 2025 the whole year. Not identifying it as talking about 2025, but just talking about what is and what is to come, and then reflect. And there's always the reflection back on what has been. What is to come, and what has been. Oh dear, it's a word salad. I'll work on that. But it has been fun to look back on 2024 as a year. Was there anything outstanding in the year? Well, vMix 27 was released in 2023, I think, in December. So there were no new vMixes in 2024. 2027 was vMix is perfect the way it is. How in the world can you make it better? Well, 2028 has added some features that I think will make it better. But yeah, I don't want to get into my 2025 spiel yet. But I'm working on it. Kevin Michael Reed, let's see. Let's pull his comment up so we can all take advantage of it. He just upgraded all his production systems to 2028. Bold move after testing it on non-production systems since the beta first came out. Well, I applaud you. That's a bold move. Plus, if there are things you want or need, why wait? vMix's betas have been traditionally solid. Yeah, little minor bugs here and there. I mean, it's a beta. That's what you expect. And that's why they release it into the wild, so that you and I can help them find the things that they just didn't have the right sequence of hardware, software, or procedural needs. And yeah, so they release it in the wild. We find some bugs here and there, and then we go about our business. But I've been using 28 since it first came out. Of course. I mean, that's the deal. What have I been using of 2028? I used the Telestrator once. But KMR only had 2 crashes the entire time, and they were with the first beta release. It's been stable overall. And there you go. There you go. Hello, Michael. Welcome. Glad to have you. Dive straight into 28. I love it. I love it. That's my kind of confidence and devil may care attitude. Hello, Michael. Michael Q. Glad to have you. Good to see you. Yes, indeedy. It's, you know, how many of you guys are using 28 right now for production? Not just, you know, messing around with it on the side, but are using it for your production system right now. Version 28. What is the latest 28? .25. At least that's what I've got, and it doesn't tell me to upgrade. So there we go. I don't understand. That has been one of my things I've done a lot this past year. Instead of acting like I know it all, people will say something and I don't understand, and I'll say, I don't understand. Not yet. Ah, Q. Got it. Okay. Thank you for the explanation. I didn't understand. And Michael, of course, Michael W., of course, is using 28, as he has already said. Yes. And a confirmation from KMR that 25 is the most recent version. There we go. Well, good. Well, let's do a show, shall we? It is coming up on 3 o'clock Eastern time here in the U.S. And we have a button for this. But I don't think our button is working. So we'll just have to do this. Yeah, here we go. Ta-da! Thank you, Martin K. Once again, love that opening. And I will caution you, when the closing comes, the copyright date has not been updated, so we'll just make a note that this is copyright 2025. I don't know that you can do that verbally and have it really, really work. But 2025, 2025. Who would have thought? I mean, I remember as a kid thinking, boy, when the year 2000 rolls around, I'm going to be 45 years old. I'm going to be old. Well, now, 25 years later, yeah, holy cow. I'll be 70 this year. I can't imagine. Let's don't talk about that. So let's talk about 2025 and what are our expectations, hopes, fears of 2025. You know, this is kind of a prediction show, but it's not. Yeah, it's a prediction show. It's a prediction show. Yeah. For example, I predict that in the year 2025, this is my number one prediction, that vMix will release a new version, vMix version 28. That doesn't, I didn't have to go out on a limb on that one. It's guaranteed. In fact, it probably will happen on or about their next Funtime live show, is my guess. So the last Tuesday here in the U.S. in January. When is that Tuesday? That is the 28th. I predict on January 28th, vMix will release officially version 28 for everyone to use. And, you know, one of the things that they're probably working on to be able to release it, frankly, is to update the help file, because they have to document all the new features, any changes they've made, and then maybe check back through all the knowledge base to see if there's anything that needs to be updated in that. Yeah. So vMix releases vMix 28. Do you remember the very first vMix you ever used? Do you remember what version it was? Pop that note into the chat or into the comments if you're watching us after the fact. I'm thinking, for me, I can remember vMix 14 for sure, but there may have been a vMix 12 back there that I used, maybe even older than that. I'll have to go back and check. I remember when I signed on to the vMix forum for the very first time was probably about was probably about 2 years before I really started using it. I signed up for the forum in 2012, and it really wasn't until 2014 that I started using it with any regularity. So there you go. So whatever version 2014 was my regular use. Whatever version 2012 was the one that I used. And, you know, I looked at it and I didn't see what I was expecting. My bad. Second prediction for 2023. Are you writing these down? Because I'm not writing these down anywhere. Second prediction for 2025. Did I just say 2023? Second prediction for 2025 is that we in the live streaming industry, and as professionals, experienced non-professionals, intermediates, and novices, we will see more hardware devices in 2025 that are related to live streaming. And I'm thinking about, you know, the first one was the ATEM. At least the first one I know about was the ATEM. You know, it's a little keyboard-looking thing. You plugged cameras into it. You plugged audio into it. You plugged monitors into it. And you had you plugged network into it. And you had a monitor where you could fire off things through software, or you had buttons where you could fire off things through buttons. And then along came Roland to make a similar option. And then we've had a slurry of those since then. And I think we're going to see a lot more people using those, people that are really on what I would call the beginner end, who are looking for something that is simple and is not software. I think there are a lot of folks that don't trust software. Of course, those boxes are nothing but, you know, software inside them, but that's not the point. The point is they're looking for something that has more physical connection to it. It has wires and buttons, and yeah, it can do all that. And I think that is going to give rise to a lot of real disappointment as people get into something like that, thinking it's going to make their life simpler because it's just one device, and suddenly they realize that, you know, they need to have an encoder, and they need to have a recorder, and they need to have, you know, if they're going to do replay or something like that, they've got to have a whole different system for that. And as these manufacturers, these boxes, realize that people need more and more, they're going to begin to build more and more of that stuff in there. And at some point, they're just going to throw up their hands and say it's got to be software. I won't say all, that you can't really say all anymore, can you? I think that's why we see companies like VizRT begin to move to sell just their production software alone without selling the hardware. Now, they still sell the hardware, But you think about, selling software. Holy cow, selling software. You don't have to deliver it. You don't have to set it up. You just set up a website, people download it, and you give them a license key, and away you go. And you can sell 1,000 of them with the same cost as selling one. So the hardware world, I think we'll see more and more people kind of come in, kind of hit the roadblock of what these devices will do for you, and kind of either move into software for the first time or come back to software after having abandoned it for a while. I have a client that we built a Wirecast PC for him. It was probably the only Wirecast PC I've ever built that was specifically for Wirecast. And that was 2017, maybe 2016, 2017. And they didn't stay on Wirecast very long after that. They went to vMix. But now that system's getting some age on it, and it's, it does everything it used to do, except it appears to crash occasionally. And I think they just need to reinstall Windows. That will fix all or most of it, if not all of it. But they've gone to an ATEM in order to lighten the load on this PC. I mean, this PC was built on the specs that were needed and available 9 years ago. We can say 9 years ago now, because this is 2025. But they think that they can begin to repurpose this machine for lighter duty and use an ATEM to switch cameras. And the only thing they're going to ask the vMix PC to do is to provide graphics using Tim from vMix did a really nice video about a year ago on key and fill with Blackmagic graphics, not graphics cards, but video cards. We'll call them capture cards, but they're actually bidirectional. And so they're gonna use a setup like that and let vMix supply the graphics to the ATEM. I think at some point they're going to come back and want to do vMix as software, because once you've been there, you get spoiled about what it can do for you. We'll see. We'll see. But my prediction number 2 is that we're going to see a proliferation. We're going to see a lot, a lot of expanded and possibly new devices in the streaming market that are kind of video switchers. We'll see. Will be interesting to see. And I think there'll be some that get smaller for simple use, and some that get larger and more complicated and more specialized. So interesting. Number 3, prediction number 3, and this has some history with it. So let's go back in time. Let's go back in time to maybe 2012. 2012, yeah, 2012. vMix, no, it wasn't 2012. Had to have been 2014. Anyway, back in time, 10 years-ish. vMix had designed and built and sold a system called the vMix Go. I have one. I've rebuilt it, but I have it and I love it. They did that for a couple of years, and then they put out, I think it was the vMix 1, which was a 1U rack mount vMix system. And then shortly after that, they stopped building hardware. They said, it's not working for us. Too much technical support, too much cost involved. If you're selling software and then suddenly you're selling hardware, and more than 50% is your cost, then it's a whole different ballgame. Whereas software, 100% is your profit, at least gross profit. So they discontinued doing that, and then I think the thought was that this will become a channel product. That is a product that gets into the sales channel and gets used by major corporations, and it is resold by major resellers, and is marketed by a national distributor here in the U.S. Like like any brand, like a Dell, or something like that. Except specific to live streaming. So a little significantly narrower niche. And that just didn't pan out. I mean, I think that the cost of doing it was much more than they anticipated. Plus, they were coming from Australia, and they were asking somebody here in the U.S. to do the legwork, and there was just a lot of cost involved. And they were trying to do it out of California. They should have done it out of Alabama. Anyway, story for another day. So the channel, got the vMix goes, and they went for a while, and then it sort of crashed and burned. And there have been other people that have tried to create a live streaming box for the channel. And there are a couple around that I'm not going to name because they're my competition, but they've been able to survive the test of time. They've gotten into some, probably some good named clients, but they haven't become kind of the brand name box. When I was at NAB in the spring of 24, I can say last year now, I bumped into a new box that was taking a little bit of a different path. Instead of it coming from a live streaming kind of company like vMix or these competitors that I would tell you about, it came from a recognized name brand. Now, Blackmagic is a recognized name brand in the live streaming world, but they don't have a live streaming PC. If they do, I don't know about it. Wirecast tried to do the same thing. Telestream tried to do the same thing as vMix with their, what was the name of that? Wirecast Gear. Wirecast Gear. And I think that's still being sold, but I think it was underpowered, and so it didn't perform well. And then, of course, Wirecast had all of those problems that they have had in the last probably 6 years or more, just being one product of a multi-product company. Telestream sells lots of different products, and so Wirecast doesn't get as much of attention as the Wirecast people would like it to have in terms of fixing bugs and releasing new features. Or releasing new features and fixing bugs that those new features have produced. And so the software is sort of languished, I think, and the hardware, the Wirecast Gear, I don't think is really ever produced the way it should have, could have, would have in the corporate environment as the box for the channel. And that was my prediction about 6 years ago, that it would flounder. It took a little while for my prediction to come true, but it did. So the latest one on my list of boxes that may flounder, and I'm going to name names. I was at NAB, and I went by one of the booths there of a prominent camera company. And I think I knew them before they were a camera company. I think I knew them from the stereo audio world, JVC. And JVC had some vMix powered PCs at their booth. And I thought, wow, this is, if you're thinking channel now, this is the right idea. Take a known channel name and adopt this into that offering. And I liked that thought. I really did. I said, this could very well be a winner. And I asked the folks at the booth, I said, can you show me this PC? And they're like, well, sure, it's, and they told me about the PC. It was an i7, and it did this and this and this, and had this and had this. I'm sorry, tell me about the live streaming and camera switching capability of it. Oh, well, the guy that knows about that's not here. I said, okay, I'll come back. So I came back, and he was there. And he couldn't do anything. He could start the program. He could load some inputs. He could attach cameras to it, but he didn't know the system. You know, he was a booth babe, except he was a guy. And part of me is going, yay, it's not going to be competition. The other part of me is cringing, going, this is not going to be good for vMix. And I had a conversation with a well-placed individual in the industry, not naming names at this point, a major distributor, if you know, you know, that was also distributing this JVC product. And I happened to mention this to them, that I had this experience, and they were like, ugh, yeah, we were kind of afraid of that. They suggested that perhaps they could get JVC in touch with me and that I could help JVC. And I said, sure, that's fine. Never heard from them, but that's okay. But I did lose a large customer to the JVC box. Somebody that really, sorry about hitting the mic there. I'm a single man outfit. If I get hit a bus tomorrow, the company closes. And I think they wanted the security of a box on the channel. And what's been interesting about that is, all the systems that I sold to them came with, technical support built in, assistance with installation, all that kind of thing, training. Then I started getting calls from people that had the JVC box that had vMix questions. And I was like, well, guys, I didn't really sell that. But at least let me try to point you in the right direction to get the answers you need. So I'm a little on the fence with prediction number 3, whether JVC is going to go, the JVC box is going to go the way of the Wirecast box. And we'll go of perhaps, the TriCaster box, which is beginning to become more of a software device. JVC can't convert it to more of a software device because they didn't write the software. So we'll see. I don't know that we'll find the answer to that in 2025. It'll only be we'll look back in 26 or 27 and be able to say, yeah, that box didn't do it either. And, this is becoming kind of a vMix-centric prediction, but that's the world I live in. My world is vMix-centric. It is. vMix is the magic, is the secret sauce. It's the magic pill. It's the stuff that makes everything else come together and work. All right, prediction number 4. And this has already begun to come true. And that's why I recognized it and adopted it as prediction number 4. vMix will become more widely accepted for high-end use. Perhaps not in its full strength, but at least for different pieces and parts of what it does and what it has. Like, for example, the telestrator. Like, for example, replay. Like, for example, numerous NDI functions. Like, for example, the ability to take in broadcasts and provide and share them with local areas as opposed to broadcasting out. All of which I have clients that are doing right now. The confirmation of that for me, though, came with the release of the new vMix reference system. I was going to say Obsidian, but that's not it. It's the Obtainium system. Yes. If you haven't heard about it, go to the vMix website and check the reference guide for the Obtainium system. We did a show on that 3 weeks ago, maybe our last show, I don't remember, because it was really unobtainium. The motherboard, which of course is the central focus of every system, well, the CPU too, but the motherboard that they spec'd was not available, except through China. And I'm happy to report that motherboard is now available from Newegg out in California, here in the U.S. There's another motherboard made by Asus that we're interested in. vMix spec, the Gigabyte motherboard, but I think this Asus motherboard has the same specs, or at least enough of the same specs. We'll try them. Maybe we'll try one of each and do them side by side. But what that tells me is that vMix sees down the road the need for a system that's powerful enough to do everything that vMix needs or wants to do in one machine. I think the Obtanium machine may double the power of the Obsidian machine. Now, for those of you out there that have Obsidian bills, you know, if you keep up with the maintenance on those rascals, they're not going to get any slower. They'll always be as fast as they were. You know, part of that's up to you to keep them in shape. But for those of you that have constantly kind of bumped your head against the ceiling and what can we do, the Obtanium machine is intended and built as a 4K machine. It's going to do 4K. I think, what did it say? 6 4K cameras on instant replay. Yeah. And that's on a system that's 8 in and 2 out. So you're going to have 6 4K sources and 2 HD sources. So you still get 8 in and you can still do 2 out. But this is a machine that'll be able to gobble all that stuff up. We will be building one here as kind of our prototype shortly, in the next 6 weeks, I would say. Not sure exactly when. We just have to get some other things taken care of first before we can play too much. But I see the Obtanium system as being vMix's way, or at least the specifications for it, because remember, they're not building hardware anymore. I see the specifications for it to say, hey, vMix can operate at a higher level. vMix can go in and replace. vMix has been doing it for years, replacing TriCasters. But now, when it's a head-to-head bid, vMix can beat out a TriCaster, certainly in cost, but also in support and function. So I am thrilled to see this, and thrilled to see vMix kind of up their game, in the sense that they have been very sensitive, and rightly so. They've been very sensitive to the needs of their base, and their base have been single license users in small environments, schools, churches, talk show folks like me, people that are doing this in a small way. But I think what they've done, whether they intended to or not, but what they've done is they've said, hey, we've got a system now, you build it, we'll supply the software for it, that can go in and do ESPN level work for a fraction of the cost and much less complexity, which I think, and all right, so maybe it only does 90% of what the systems that ESPN uses, 90%, but maybe it only costs 50%. There'll be a lot of folks that say, okay, well, we'll continue to use, the big trucks, but we won't use them as much because we can put a vMix system in a backpack just about and get almost as much bang for the buck. Now, that's always been true with vMix, but I think it's more true now than ever before, that we're going to see vMix really take over at a high level across the world in complex broadcasts, where it may be multiple vMix licenses on multiple vMix machines, but where vMix will be the secret sauce that pulls it all together. And so you won't have to have somebody that knows, just this part of the production, maybe just the replay, or just the telestrator part. All of this is built into one software and can be divided up however you want. So when somebody is familiar with the basics of vMix, it's going to be easier for them to use and apply the others, I think. And then I think it's going to become a base that a lot of major live streamers can adopt that will allow them to cover a lot of territory and give them a lot of flexibility for the future. So that is prediction number 4. vMix is really reaching for the stars. I don't think they're reaching for the stars. They are positioning themselves at the star level. And you get a hand clap and an attaboy for me. So there you go. So there's that one. All right, prediction number 5. Prediction number 5. I think that the live streaming world will... I made the prediction several years ago. I'm not quite sure how to frame this. I made the prediction several years ago that live streaming would explode. And that was prior to COVID. And assisted by COVID, live streaming exploded. Not necessarily vMix live streaming, but live streaming exploded. And my prediction is that more and more people will begin to adopt what I am calling traditional, i.e. vMix, traditional live streaming methods. And they're going to abandon the cell phones and the cobbled together video cameras and other types, Mevos and products like that they've used for a couple of years. And they're just going to say, we kind of proved the case, even though we needed it for that emergency event. And now we find there's still an ongoing use for it. I'm thinking especially for churches, for folks that, here at our church, we live stream with vMix, of course. And there is a couple in the church that haven't attended church in probably 3 years, maybe longer, because one of them was really ill and couldn't put himself in a position where he was around other people. It just was, it'd kill him. And so they were homebound. And for them, the church and their faith were the center of their lives. I say were, I mean are. And that connection over live streaming to the church was able to help them continue in their faith because they could feel like they were part of the body. And that was critical for them. And when he died late last year, that's when I really realized how crucial it was for them to have that lifeline. And I realized that other churches will be realizing how crucial it is for them to continue that lifeline and even up their game, so that, whereas at one point in the church world, it was just a matter of live streaming to keep from dying during COVID. Now it's going to be live streaming as a legitimate part of our ministry to our own flock, our own folks, the mom that's home with the sick baby, the folks that are traveling and can't be there for whatever reason, and folks that are chronically ill that have been members of the congregation, members of the church long term. It's going to be important, I think, for the church to serve those folks very, very intentionally. And my good friend Al Bunt at Good Shepherd Lutheran Church up in Wisconsin, he's the one that's kind of clued me into this, because he does such a fantastic job at his church, trying to incorporate as much as he can into the live stream so that the folks that are watching the live stream really get as full an experience. I mean, it's not the same as being there. Nobody's going to say that's the case, but he intends for them to get as full an experience as is possible. I mean, he really sees that vision, and I applaud him for that. My prediction is number 5, that more and more churches, synagogues, houses of worship will decide to up their game because of the ministry that it does specifically to their own people. Certainly it has an outreach effects. I think it's a lovely outreach effect where somebody can, kind of take a peek in the church door and see what's going on without even having to be there and see, is this where I find what I need? So that's my 5 predictions. Don't ask me to repeat them. I'll have to go back and watch. That's my 5 predictions. I predict 2025. Prediction number 6. Not 26, number 6. Prediction number 6 is that 2025 is going to be a banner year for live streaming, that it will get more specialized, it will get broader, and people will enjoy unexpected and really, really wonderful success in live streaming. And as a, kind of a sub point to that, I predict that more and more people will adopt vMix and vMix systems as their main systems as they finally, give up and say, okay, we got to get something that's reliable in here. I have that phone call all the time. Well, that's it for the show. We're going to go to the post show here. But remember, this is the show where you get the pre-show, the show, and the post show all in one broadcast on YouTube. Just remember that. We'll be right back after this word from, it's not really a word from our sponsor. It's, we'll see you next week is what it is. Okay. So let's see what the chat has to say today. No time getting your first show live for 2025. Well, I could have done it earlier today. But no, I mean, it's Wednesday. It just worked out this way. Last week was Christmas, and I was not going to do a Christmas show, although it would have been fun. My grandkids were in town, and they've been on the show twice, I think, in the past during the summer when they come to visit, and it's been a lot of fun to have them on and run the show. All right, so let's see. There's some chatter there. Michael is asking KMR if he got to use the Telestrator. And Telestrator said, yes, we're using it remote hosts, accessing it from Europe. Wow. All right. No hiccups? Not at all. Some URI issues in the browser. Yeah, I saw that too. I guess that's been straightened out. Aha. Good question. Well, vMix rely on AI for verbal switching. Michael Quist, it already does. Audio commands have been in vMix for several years. Let me see if I can find them here. Settings. Where is it? Where is it? It is somewhere. You know, I don't remember right now. Isn't that a shame? But you could set up vMix for audio input. And I did a show on that. And it was fun, but it was a disaster. I'm still looking for it here. I don't think they took it out. Maybe it's in advanced settings. Let's go check. I don't recall. Isn't that funny? That's a shame. But it allowed you to set up certain words. Let me see if it's somewhere else. I don't think they took it out, but I can't lay my hands on it right now. But basically, you could say, I think, maybe it's under shortcuts. Let's see. Because it was a shortcut kind of thing. Let's just add a shortcut. Yeah, I don't see it. I don't see it. Yeah, there it is. It's under shortcuts. And the key control under shortcuts is voice. And so you can set up a voice, and then it allows you to put in a phrase. And I did a whole show with that, having input or having made, I don't know, maybe a half a dozen shortcuts as voice-activated shortcuts. The problem was I didn't really spend enough time with it and get vMix to kind of learn my voice. So as a result, I would just be talking and things would be happening. And it would be switching things and switching cameras and adding graphics and doing things with audio. And it was a hilarious disaster. I'm sure the vMix guys just absolutely howled when they saw it because it was so horrible on my part. Their part worked fine. I think originally, and I could be wrong about this, but originally it was introduced as an April Fool's joke. You know how vMix is with their April Fool's jokes. Oh my gosh. Right now I'm using the desktop. Let's see if I've got a desktop capture. Yeah, here we go. I'm using the desktop that is the one that they released this past year for, what was it called? For 4th of July. And it's the rich mahogany, which I absolutely love. Who was I talking to? I was talking to Tim about it, or maybe Heath at well, it wasn't. It could have been NAB because this would have been after NAB. Anyway, no, maybe NAB was April, not March. Yeah, so I was talking about, and they said they hated it, but I love it. I mean, the quality of these buttons right here, they are hand stitched leather. You just can't beat that. So anyway, so it's there. It's a voice-activated shortcut. Voice-activated shortcut. And it may be the kind of thing that that I would use again. You know, maybe. Maybe. Let's see. KMR says that VizRT really likes their software. Yeah. But don't let the price difference between the VizRT software and the vMix software fool you. The vMix software is, I think, artificially, intentionally, significantly underpriced based on value. And that's because vMix wants to rule the world. I don't think they'll say it quite like that, but they don't want price to be a barrier for entry. I mean, that's why they developed vMix Max, which is the pro version available for, what is it, $50 or $60 a month. The latest, greatest, whatever it is. You can sign up for it and use it for a month, and then, a year later, sign back up for it and use it for a month. Use it as needed. If you need it, 3 extra licenses for 3 machines for a gig, you can get it on a monthly basis now. And vMix was being sensitive to their user base and what their use case was, and making it available as a rental. Heck, there's still vMix Basic HD, the $60 version. You can buy it one time and use it forever. Well, I think technically it's a 100-year license. But yeah. So if vMix were priced based on the value, I think it would be somewhere around, the vMix Pro would be somewhere around $10,000. Currently it sells for $1,200. So that's, that's not 10 times, what is that? 8 times 12 is 96. So that's 8 times the current price, but not 50 times. But I think VizRT has significantly more overhead that they have to support, and probably they're taking a significant profit loss in the whole scheme, obviously, by selling the software instead of the software and the hardware, or at least a revenue loss. Yeah. How about vMix and a Mac? Well, if you can get Mac to run Windows, you're fine. The problem is vMix is never going to run on a Mac natively, unless the Mac's change somehow. But, every time this comes up in a vMix conversation with vMix people, it's like, it's never going to happen. The Mac just doesn't have the right things. It doesn't have the right stuff. Doesn't have the right stuff. There we go. Or as Michael says, there you go. Yeah. Hello, Otis. Glad to see you. Hello, OJ. Excuse me, OG. Happy birthday, by the way. Can you have a vMix run a broadcast channel in the like of CNN? Oh, of course. Of course. CNN, you picked the really low bar. But yes, I mean, you've got remote reporters, you've got graphics, you've got all the overlays, all the layers, all the ability to run video commercials. It's almost like the vMix guys sat down and looked at a CNN production and said, okay, how can we make one piece of software that does all of this? Yeah. Piece of cake. All right, how about the Snapdragon chips? Yeah, I've heard about the Snapdragon chips. Don't know about that. It's going to be interesting to see. Otis is an NDI guy. iPad, laptop, phone, and PTZ cameras via NDI. There you go. There you go. I do have a customer that's struggling. They have an all NDI installation. I'm kind of the third party. They're the second party to the customer, and they've struggled with the NDI implementation because the NDI, despite vMix's features to the contrary, NDI is crashing vMix. Okay, KMR agrees with me. We have to read this one. Oh, it's about pricing. There is not a feature set difference to justify the VizRT price, and vMix is underpriced. Agreed. Doesn't mean I want vMix price higher. I had conversations with numerous vMix people about the fact that their software is underpriced. And I was very critical of them to their face about that. And they resisted me firmly and said, you know, we have, now they may jack their price up, you know, just marginally. They did that, 10 years ago. But they really want the product to stay within reach of the typical user. And I haven't talked to them lately about this, but I would propose to them a strategy where when they have a new killer feature, like I think vMix Call was a killer feature, Replay is definitely a killer feature, Zoom integration is a killer feature combined with vMix Call. I think those would have warranted a new version level of vMix. That, you know, for example, vMix Pro sells for $1,200. When they went from 4 to 8 cameras on Replay, that's a huge difference. In the Replay world, minds were exploding all over the place. And I think they could have justified a, you know, $2,500 price tag on the vMix Replay 8 camera. And it's, you know, it's the same vMix. In fact, it's the same vMix Pro they have now. It's just that it's at a different level, and only at that level can you get 8 camera Replay. Now it's too late to do that, but I think you can do that with the next great feature and make it available at the high end. I mean, if there's something they've got that just is a killer feature, it may justify a new level, a new edition, if you will, of vMix. Right now it's basic HD, HD, 4K, and Pro. And those are your choices. So we'll see. We'll see. Welcome, Gunner. Glad to have you. Welcome, Ed. Still working on that spelling issue. There you go. You got it now. Gunner said he just made Notebook LM and Gemini to create some scripts for him. Wow. Love to hear more about that. Ed says his client's TriCaster has problems with NDI. It can't have problems with NDI. NDI is innate. It's built in. It's designed in. Sometimes requiring a reboot during broadcast. Ooh. I wonder if that's not a network issue. I think it's a network issue. I think most of NDI problems are network problems. That networks are not configured properly, either the network or the NIC. In fact, Michael Christ, interesting with NDI problems. I had problems with vMix 23 after upgrading network to fiber and 10 gigabyte NICs. I have had bird dogs running full NDI and using phones with NDI-HX with no problems so far. Is there more that we're not getting on that one, Michael? Because it cuts you off, it appears. Ah, Tommy Willis is in the house. Gunnar is so smart. Yes, agreed. Could be network or CPU issues. People don't realize how much system resources are required for a lot of NDI. Yep. Yep. I agree with that. I agree with that. And who was it? It was Heath that said on the last vMix Funtime live show in December last year it was, that he does a rule of thumb for NDI. One CPU core for each NDI source. And he didn't differentiate, or maybe he did and I don't remember, but he didn't differentiate between NDI and NDI-HX. But he did comment otherwise that full NDI doesn't have to be, is the right word decoded? Whereas NDI-HX has to be decoded, has to be unpacked, has to be uncompressed, or whatever the terminology is that I'm searching for. And that the other thing he said, and he was non-specific at this point, but that a certain number of other cores should hang around, should be available too for general processing. So if you've got 8 NDI sources and you've got an 8-core machine, then you're going to have troubles. The thing about that, though, is, if you've got 8 NDI sources, not all of your 8 NDI sources are going to be needed or called upon at the same time. So is there an interim phase where NDI, even though it's available but not being used, is not going to eat up CPU cycles or network bandwidth? Oh no. Yes, Heath said a core per NDI source. You can get by with half a core per NDI source, but you're dropping frames even if you don't see them. Yeah. Let me see something here. We're going to check statistics on my machine, and I'm looking at the PTZ Optics Move 4K at 1080p 60 coming in over NDI today, and it has dropped 244 frames, and the renderer has dropped 4,425 frames. It's resynced 273 times. And there's a bird dog camera that I'm not using right now, and its source has dropped 3 times and the renderer 351 times. So, yeah, I think, frankly, I take it as a given that if you're going to do NDI, you're going to drop frames here and there, sooner or later. Yep. And look at that. KMR is a smart guy. NDI-HX requires more system resources. Less bandwidth, but more resources. Somebody's going to have to explain that one to me. Tommy, I don't get it. So NDI, whatever version, uses kernels and CPU, not on the graphics card. Correct. So having the biggest, baddest graphics card does not help you on NDI, specifically NDI. There we go. I don't speak that language. And there's my South Alabama reply. Well said, Tommy. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. So, yeah. Oh, golly. It's going to turn into a fight. That must mean something. I don't know what it means. Can I, all right. Gotcha. All right, I got that. Dewey Evans, welcome to the show. Glad to have you, my friend. Dewey Evans is a world-famous tennis coach who is once again trying to hang up his tennis coaching gear and re-enter full-time the world of live streaming. Best wishes for 2025 for you, my friend. And if you ever want a sounding board, just call me. My phone is available to you. And these folks are speaking Danish or, forgive me, I don't know I can't recognize my languages like that. But yeah, there we go. There we go. Yeah, Dewey and I was a guest on Dewey's show. What was that? Maybe 5 years ago, Dewey? And what a thrill. What a thrill to be on somebody else's show. It was really fun. And what I found out with shows like that, Dewey, is that you really have to commit yourself for a long duration of time before you can decide whether something like that is really going to work or not. I would say, some people would say 3 months. I would say 6 months to see if you can capture and hold an audience. And, the Streaming Idiot show, right now it's just sort of a hangout for old friends. But there was a day where we would get, 400 or 500 folks watching us live. And while I miss those days, I don't wish for those days because there was a lot of pressure at that point. And sometimes we would have, the hecklers in the chat, the trolls, and it wasn't fun for that reason. And I like the, kind of hanging out with my friends part a lot more. What version of NDI is vMix 28 supporting? And is it more directly using NDI Bridge? To answer to your second question first, I would say no, it's not more directly using NDI Bridge. And the answer to your first question is, let's look it up. vMix. And let's go to the forums, because there is a beta discussion in the forum, which includes vMix 28. Okay, new web telestrator, new audio, new playback, new multi-view, overlays, anchor settings, flatten layers, streaming dish. Okay, vMix now supports the latest NDI release, NDI 6. Note that vMix does not support HDR. HDR NDI sources will still display, but may have incorrect color and or luminance due to SDR conversion. Okay, I don't see anything else there on that. Then I'm looking through the other reviews. Added beta support for Blue Sky to vMix Social. Added SRT IPv6 support. Yep, that's all I see, Michael. Good question, but I don't have a better answer. My tennis days are done and have been done for a long time. April 2020. So it'll be 5 years. Wow. Tommy Willis, you don't remember. I set you up as a moderator on this channel so you could kill off all the trolls. I figure that's one way to take care of you. Put you in charge, make you the hall monitor, make you the lunch line monitor. Oh, that's too funny. Too funny. Too funny. Too funny. Too funny. 2025, we're going to try to come up with some interesting guests too. I really want to get one of the vMix guys on. I really want to get Joe DeMax back on. I've got some customers that are doing some really interesting things with vMix that I'd like to get back on, or get on for the first time. Bill Connor. Bill is in the automotive education industry, teaching folks how to be mechanics, and he has got this brand new garage that he has got all equipped with PTZ cameras and of course vMix, and he live streams these lessons as well as does them local. And I'd love to get him on and just talk more about that. I think he's got it to the point where it might be out of the reach for somebody that wanted to try to do it today. But you hesitate to share all your secrets on the internet, especially if they're secrets that are making you money. So there. So we'll know more about that. Well, I can give you an update on that right now, Tommy. 4 years ago, over the Christmas holidays, my son Jordan and I built a studio at one of the local elementary schools here. It was K through 6, kindergarten through 6th grade. So they wanted to have the 5th and 6th graders. So that's going to be like 11 and 12-year-olds. Is that right? Yeah, 11 and 12-year-olds do the broadcast. So we designed and built a studio for them. And when Tim from vMix was here, he visited here in Fairhope, stayed with us for about a week. And we went out there one day, and of course, they were fascinated with him being from Australia. And he was fascinated seeing a bunch of 10 and 11-year-olds and 12-year-olds do the vMix stuff. And just this past school year, Tommy, back in September, or actually August, I got an email from the main leader of that program saying that she was now going to be an assistant principal at a different school and had turned over the reins to 2 other teachers. And so this was the first changing of the guard there. And I went in and worked with those 2 teachers, I think just one day. And they took off. They haven't called me. Periodically, I'll tune in and watch their broadcasts. If you look on, I guess they're only on Facebook. Or are they on YouTube too? Let me see if they're on YouTube. Hold on. It's called the Pirate Podcast. PIRATEPODCAST. Pirate Podcast. Yeah, I don't see them easily. Let's put in Fairhope. Yes. Fairhope East Elementary. Fairhope East Elementary. And they are doing the morning announcements. Let's see. Let's take one for just a second. Well, that one was 5 seconds old, so I don't guess that was that was the one. How about this one? Yeah, there we go. We're going to bring it into the show. Web browser input. Hold on. Let me get it to the good part. Okay, that's the logo that one of the kids designed in the very first class. I think they're on their 5th class now. Oops, let me start this. And this is the same theme song they've been using. I think it's something they got from Facebook that would not be.
Good morning, Fairhope East Elementary teachers and students. My name is Grayson Webb from Miss Anderson's homeroom class. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, our school pledge, and our school mission statement. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States.
But that is the Pirate Podcast. And they're doing great. They're doing great. They're on Facebook and YouTube. And they're killing it. They're killing it. And it's developing such confidence in them. The leaders are really showing off, and the kids do the whole thing. They write the scripts. They're the camera people via PTZ Optics, PTZ cameras, 2 cameras in the studio. It's a green screen studio, so we have a green screen here, and we have a green screen here, and then we have a camera here going this way and a camera here going that way. So they kind of cut across each other, but it was the best use of space we could make. And the room is treated with sound deadening material, i.e. Moving blankets and carpet on the floor. I guess it's an acoustical ceiling. Everything's painted black. And it just has great acoustics, has great light in that we control all the light. We've got all sorts of lights hanging from the ceiling and on the floor. And they're doing great. They're having a ball, and they're learning so much. I just love it. I love it. Yep, I do too. I do too. And what an outlet. And the other thing that I'm really pleased with is that the teachers were able to catch on. Part of it is because we really worked hard at the very, very beginning developing a good workflow. And the workflow was easily repeatable and could be easily modified as needed. I mean, complete with, we divided the, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There were 8 different jobs that you would need in this broadcast. And so basically we had a sheet, had all the jobs, and they filled in different names every day. So everybody got to do everything. And then with each job, there was, certain criteria and certain instruction for that job. The hardest job was the director. And the director had a script, essentially, that he or she would direct from. And so he or she would be calling the camera shots, calling the graphics, calling the live stream on and off, and, all that kind of thing. And that was the toughest job, and the one that some people resisted doing because they didn't want to be under that pressure, but other kids just flourished in it. It just was really, really, really fun and a great experience. One of the kids that was in the very, very first class is now a senior in high school. I think she's a senior. And is graduating with honors and has got all these scholarships. And I could just tell early on that she was going to rock and roll with this thing. And she did, and she obviously has succeeded in lots of other ways. And Otis remembers the very beginning. Yep. And I think we had not all the kids, we had a lot of the kids and one of the teachers and maybe the principal here in the studio for a show one day. That was a lot of fun. It was good stuff. Good stuff. You don't always remember good stuff until somebody reminds you of it. Thank you, Thomas. Thank you, Otis. All right, guys, we're going to peel out of here. And we will catch you guys next Wednesday. That is going to be January 8th at 3 o'clock Eastern Time. And I think it's supposed to be really, really cold here that day, like 30 Fahrenheit. So like -1 Celsius. We'll see. Thank you guys for tuning in. Have a great day. Happy New Year, and blessings on you and your clan. And now how do I get out of this thing? You know, it was such a nice little conclusion there, and then all of a sudden, how do we make this end?